Welcome back to another episode of the Jet Take. I'm your host, Ben Blessington. Joining me now, as always, Mr. Money, Kyle Fahey. Kyle, how you doing, man?
I'm doing good, Ben. How are you?
I'm good. It's been a while since our last episode, and even a while before the one before that. But it's the night before the draft. We figured we should probably drop some content this draft season. Despite us not really doing many episodes, we've been very active on Twitter. We thank you for all the new followers and engagement that we've had over these past few weeks. And you can follow us on Twitter at the Jet Take. And you can also find our podcast on iTunes, Spotify, SoundCloud, or on the best Jets website around, turnonthejets.com. We've been inactive, but we've been paying attention, specifically this draft season. I've been watching a lot of film on some guys, and so I'm really excited for this episode. Tonight we're going to be doing a mock draft between Kyle and I, where we'll trade off picks and we'll be selecting for a team in the NFL for the first round. We'll give our 7-round Jets mock drafts. We'll talk about some of our favorite prospects and whatnot, and then we'll get out of here. But first, since we haven't done a show in a while, Kyle, the rebrand happened a few weeks ago. Obviously a big part of this show because we had Darren Lee on for an interview last year, and we knew around then that the Jets were getting uniforms. We've been waiting for a while. Big flex right there. What are your thoughts on it? I mean, there's a lot of anticipation for both of us. What are they going to look like? How's it going to be received and whatnot? So your thoughts on the uniforms, the helmets, the rebrand itself, the logo, the whole event, just your overall opinion.
I think it's a solid 8 out of 10. They missed on the logo, and the uniforms overall are really nice, and we just got to win games.
Yeah, I mean, that's what Sam Darnold said, is that it doesn't really matter how these look unless you're winning ball games. Yeah, I would say I think they nailed the colors. I think they did a really good job on the colors. I'm excited about Gotham green and Spotlight white. I think the black and white uniforms look really, really good. The green ones, I think, will grow on me when I see them on the field. They've already started to grow on me. Just like the helmet logo, I didn't love it first, but it's come around, and I realized, I like it a lot more than I actually did the first oval, I guess, we had with the white helmets. And obviously the helmet shell is probably my favorite part about the whole uniform. I think it's just really clean and looks really good. But yeah, the logo is just not great. I think the updated oval shape is actually an improvement, but the logo itself is just, I don't know, doesn't feel as much of a logo as it is a bunch of words with a football inside of a bigger football. Feels like you could have, even if you just changed the laces in the football to like a little jet or something, or even just kept the old logo that they had with the NY behind it. I thought that looked pretty clean. But yeah, I like the uniforms themselves. I like the jet, stream or, wings or whatever coming down into the plate of the uniform, and I think they did a really good job. The name font, the number font, they did a really good job. I agree. I think it's probably about an 8.5, 8 out of 10. Just the only thing they missed on was probably the logo. But logos you can change, whereas uniforms take a lot longer to change and design and stuff. One of the biggest things, though, and I guess we'll touch on this before we move forward with a few other topics and draft stuff, that I noticed, and I know a few people have talked about this, is the event was just so New York and so, this is our city, and I mean, there was 1,000 different shots of the Empire State Building lit up in green. Kyle, do you think they were made, and it's literally written across the chest of the uniforms and above in the logo, do you think that the Jets are considering a move back to New York in 2025 when they have the option to opt out of MetLife?
I don't know. I would say no.
I mean, there's no way you could know, but if you had to predict, I mean, do you think it's in the cards maybe?
I want to say no, because then at that point you are left with the situation of where are you playing, how fast can you build it, where do you want to build it, you have to buy the real estate, you have to get permits. This is a 10-year plan, and if the Jets legitimately want to do that, they have to do that right now, and the ultimate shot caller on that is Woody Johnson and the taxpayers. I mean, you're talking about legislation that has to be put into place, and it's just very unlikely that, people, I guess it is a new state, so I guess it would be the taxpayers in New York, but it doesn't seem that New York legislators can really do anything realistic nowadays. So I don't think. Are they going to leave
the Giants in Jersey, and their not really nice training facility is still in Jersey? I think there are a lot of questions, but look, Amazon pulled out of Queens. There's some real estate there. You could go even.
No, that's not how that works. But
I mean, I'm not saying it's a direct.
The government denied them.
Okay, my apologies for getting that wrong. I mean, you could go more north of the city instead of going south to Jersey, and so then you're still in New York state lines. who knows? But that was probably the biggest thing that stood out to me. Besides the whole, I mean, the uniforms had leaked the day before, so it was really just to see the all whites, the all greens, the event, and the event. And the biggest thing that stood out to me there was just how New York it was, and even, I mean, in the rebrand, it was New York. And part of me either thinks it could be one of two things or both, which is the more likely thing. It was just we want to be New York's team. We want to basically crap all over the Giants. We don't be the Giants' little brother anymore. I think that's probably what it more was, but it could also signal it moved back to New York, and it could be both, that we're not the Giants' little brother, and we're going to be New York's team. We're going to play in New York. So who knows? Or they'll just be like the LA Angels and play in Anaheim and brand themselves as LA and do the same with Jersey and New York. But interesting overall, but I was pretty happy with the uniforms themselves. The helmet logo has grown on me. The logo itself will probably grow on me with time, but overall, I think they did a good job, avoided disaster. And if they win games of them, I think my opinion of them will go up even more. All right, just before we get to the draft, probably the only thing of note that's happened outside of all this draft chatter is that the Jets have a optional voluntary minicamp that they can do because they have a new head coach. And so they've been on field this week, and that's why we've seen the helmets on the field and whatnot. There have been two players who have not shown up. Only two out of the whole voluntary workout roster. And let's talk about both of them. First, Le'Veon Bell. How concerned or how worried, or do you even care that Le'Veon Bell isn't there? Does it send a bad message to the rest of the team and to the league? Do you think it's one of those things where, like, look, he's supposed to be one of the guys. He has to build chemistry. And even if they're not doing too much, he should be trying to build more chemistry with Darnold and his O-line and whatnot. Do you care at all? Do you think it's a big deal? Or are you disappointed? Just kind of your overall thoughts on Le'Veon Bell not showing up.
Really, really do not care. I mean, if you weren't getting paid to show up to something that's slightly suggested, I mean, come on. I wouldn't go. Do you blame Le'Veon? Hell no. I wouldn't be there.
I mean, yeah, but I mean, if you're not making, $30 million or whatever he is, and you don't have the pressure of a whole city and team kind of on you, I agree. I'm not trying to say that this is a huge deal, because I don't think it is a huge deal. I don't think him not showing is going to affect anything that comes in the season. And I think, as Adam Gase said, look, we saw him the first week. We were able to get a lot of information to him. He could still, obviously in the digital age, they can text, talk, whatever, and get all the X's and O's to him. And he has, from his Instagram and from what Adam Gase said, has a very good training regimen back home. So, I'm not really worried about him physically or being ready for the team or whatever, or ready for the X's and O's. It's a little disappointing that he's not there with the guys or whatever and building that chemistry. But again, look, he'll be there for the mandatory one in June. He'll be there for training camp. He'll be there for the season, obviously. I guess I shouldn't say obviously with him, but he will be there for the season and build chemistry then. So it's not a big thing. Obviously, it's a little disappointment. It's a little disappointing, but it's not a big deal in the grand scheme of things. I think the guy who was a bigger deal and much more, I guess, means much more, I guess what I'm trying to say, Darren Lee not showing up. Do you think this is a sign that he expects to be traded this weekend? Do you think it's one of those things where it's like, well, just in case I'm not going to show up this week because, again, as you said, it's a voluntary workout that he's not getting paid for, so he's just going to wait to see if he gets traded this weekend and then he'll go to the voluntary stuff? Or do you think he just has a really good feeling that he's going to be moved this weekend?
Did he not show up?
Yeah, him and Le'Veon Bell are the two guys that didn't show up to the voluntary workouts.
Oh. That's unfortunate for Darren.
You didn't even know?
I saw him and Leonard Williams working at the facility 2 days ago.
He was at the facility. That's the weird part. He was at the facility on Sunday, which means he made an active choice to not go to the voluntary thing.
Okay. Well, you know what? Bye then. Come on, dude.
But again, he was just with his guys and stuff. It could just be one of those things where it's like, look, there's a lot of chatter about me being traded. Let's see if I am traded. I feel like that he would have talked to Greg Williams if he was staying and got more of an idea about his role. Because I don't think, unless the Jets are getting, and this is kind of hopping into a different topic and kind of segueing more into the draft, is I don't think that the Jets should really move Darren Lee unless they're getting good value. And to me, that's probably a fourth or higher. To move him for a fifth, maybe a fifth. It depends where it is. But some people are just we'll trade him for whatever you can get, a sixth or a seventh. he still does have value, and he is our only real like coverage linebacker. And you're telling me that Greg Williams, a guy who is probably slowly going to turn us into a 4-3, I would be surprised if we're not playing a lot of hybrid looks, especially with our rumored interest in Ed Oliver and Quinnen Williams and whatnot. I would not be surprised if we're playing a lot of 4-3 looks. And it's like, look, you have this guy who can play a terrific strong side outside linebacker for you in a 4-3 defense. So just play him there. He can be a rotational guy. I mean, he's not, I don't know. To me, it's like unless you're getting a fourth or, a third, in best case scenario, you're not getting a third from him, though. Unless you're getting a fourth, really, that's a guy you can add. I mean, the Jets drafted Chris Herndon in the fourth this past year. That's a guy you can add a real difference maker. But once you're getting, late into day 3, I don't think you're going to get a guy that's going to bring you the versatility and the impact that Darren Lee is going to this season. I still could see a scenario where, although Avery Williamson and C.J. Mosley are ahead of him on the depth chart, that Darren Lee is still playing 50 to 60% of the snaps, just with the ways that Greg Williams can use him. When we were doing the show a few years ago and Darren Lee was going to be a first-round draft pick, and I mocked him to the Jets, another big humble brag by myself, I said one of the reasons I think the Jets are going to like him is his versatility, and he still has that. He's added on some weight. I just don't necessarily think they should trade him unless they get good value back from him. I wouldn't trade him for a bag of potato chips. But, again, him not showing up does kind of signal to me that I think he's probably been told, or at least just not had that much contact with Greg Williams, and can surmise that he's going to be moved this weekend. Talking more about trades, we'll move on from Darren Lee and talk a lot more about the draft because we have a lot to get through. Trading back is obviously a big topic among Jets fans and Jets beat writers, and should the Jets trade back? If they do, what can they get? Who would they trade with? If is it going to be worth staying worth rather than staying at 3? Scott Mason, good friend of the show, brought up how the Jets traded back in 1997 and drafted a bunch of basically nobodies when the Rams took Orlando Pace with our original number 1 overall pick. So necessarily quantity isn't always better than quality, but there's always the argument that, look, the draft is a crapshoot. You want more lottery tickets. The Jets have a lot of needs. It's not necessarily like we're going to be Super Bowl contenders this year, although I do think they'll make the playoffs. More on the schedule to come. Kyle, just kind of your thoughts on who they could trade back from. Let me give you, actually, before you give that, let me give you a few teams, and you just kind of, based off your understanding of I guess, draft trade value and whatnot, you kind of give what you think that that team could give them, who the Jets could take in that situation, kind of just show how likely it is that these teams could trade. All right? Does that sound good?
Yeah.
All right, so the first team, probably the least likely out of this group that I'm going to say, the Oakland Raiders, who pick just a pick back from the Jets. Now, the only reason the Raiders would ever do this would be for a quarterback, and it would have to be a situation where the Jets call John Gruden and say, look, and I guess Mike Mayock, and say, look, we have an offer from Team X, Broncos, Redskins, Giants, whatever, to move up and take Dwayne Haskins. And let's say we know that John Gruden loves Dwayne Haskins, and he's like, look, don't let them outbid you for your pick. We'll give you our last first-round pick or whatever, and you could still pick at 4 and get an impact player or whatever, or give us your second or whatever, because the Jets obviously aren't taking a quarterback. Could you see that scenario unfolding? What exactly do you think the compensation the Jets would be getting back from a team like the Raiders, who's just picking a spot behind them and whatnot?
I don't see the Raiders coming up. I think worse comes to worse. Everything I've heard about the Raiders is that they can't trust the people in their building. I would assume they're discussing a trade if they're sending away scouts because they don't want things to leak. I understand that. It's actually a solid strategy. I don't know how credible it is, but I've heard that John Gruden really loves T.J. Hawkinson, and I consider him top 5 player in the draft pretty easily. You can make a case that with his talent,
he's not taking him at 4. He is there. I would literally put in every mock that I've done, T.J. Hawkinson has fallen to the Raiders at, what do they pick, like 20?
Okay, but we also had Denzel Ward going in the teens last year, and he ended up being the 4th pick.
T.J. Hawkinson is a tight end, and while I love him, I just don't.
And a great tight end is better than a great corner in today's league. 100%.
Definitely not.
Who are you taking, Travis Kelce or Marcus Peters? Because the Kansas City Chiefs already made that decision for you.
Whoa. That is not. I mean, I guess Marcus Peters is a great corner, but I'm taking a true shutdown corner in Darrelle Revis over Rob Gronkowski any day of the week. And
I don't know about that.
And I agree, I agree that the value of the tight end has gone up. I agree that the Jets should improve their depth at tight end behind Jordan Leggett or behind Chris Herndon, because obviously the tight end position has just become so much more important. But you're telling me, I get what you're saying. You're saying that, look, in today's league, the passing league, with all the penalties and flags and whatnot, your corners are going to get burned. It's not as important of a position as it used to be. But if you're saying I'm getting a great corner, that means that's a guy that's shutting people down. And a guy like Denzel Ward, like, I don't know if he's necessarily there yet, but you said great corner, which gives me the freedom to say, look, I'm going to take the best corner of all time in Darrelle Revis. But even if it's I don't know, whoever you think is the best. I'll take Jalen Ramsey, whatever. I'll take Jalen Ramsey over Rob Gronkowski or Travis Kelce. Like, I'll take the ability to take out a team's best receiver in a passing league any day over the tight end option. I don't even think that's a real debate.
Okay, so I'll say I get Rob Gronkowski, and you get who do you think is the best corner of all time? Darrelle Revis?
Revis, probably.
Okay.
I don't know if that's just bias. You could put Deion Sanders there.
No. He is the best pure cover corner of all time. Deion Sanders is the better football player because he was more versatile. He did a lot more things. I'll take prime Rob Gronkowski over prime Darrelle Revis every day of the week, because Rob Gronkowski will beat every safety, every corner, and every linebacker in the NFL right now to this day, and he did it for about 5 years.
Yeah, and Darrelle Revis in 2009 shut down every top receiver.
And what did we do with it? What did they do with it?
They won the AFC fucking championship with Mark Sanchez at quarterback. What are you talking about, Kyle?
Oh my God, we couldn't get there. Rob Gronkowski single-handedly has won Patriots Super Bowls. He dominated
with Tom
the NFL.
fucking Brady and Bill Belichick. What are you talking about? He single-handedly won Super Bowls. Come on, Kyle. Come on. Are you kidding me?
I think
you've realized that you've lost, and now you're just going to argue yourself.
No, Ben, you're talking about a cornerback. Head cases, usually, who demand
you're
huge amounts of
Rob
money.
Gronkowski. What are you talking about?
Yes. Like one of the greatest players in NFL history.
Yeah, and Darrelle Revis is too. And I guarantee you, Darrelle Revis
How long is a corner's lifespan?
Hold on.
How long is a corner's lifespan?
You've literally taken up like 7 different arguments, and I can't even debate them all at once.
Ben, this is very easy. A great tight end is better than a great corner every day of the week in my mind.
You know what? Here's what we'll do. We'll put a poll up, and we'll just...
Yeah, you're asking a bunch of Jets fans who value Revis. We've never had a great tight end.
I won't even use Revis. I'll say, would you rather have a shutdown corner or a top tight end? Let's just put it like that. I won't even waste more of our listeners' time just going back and forth yelling at each other about this, because this is just so easy. Like, I would bet literally every penny to my name that Darrelle Revis in 2009 had a much better impact on his team and greater impact and took them farther than Rob Gronkowski last year. Kyle, you're saying Rob Gronkowski single.
How many Super Bowl rings does Rob Gronkowski have?
With Tom Brady and Bill Belichick. What is wrong with you? Did you fall in your head or something in the 2 months that we haven't really done an episode?
Ben, I just value tight ends. I value tight ends way more than corners.
That's fine. If that's your opinion, whatever. I think it's wrong, but you can't objectively tell me that Darrelle Revis.
This year?
You can't tell me that Mark Sanchez going to the AFC Championship behind Darrelle Revis, and I don't mean to say anything. The corner opposite
Sanchez wasn't horrible that year.
Yes, he was. He was goddamn awful. He had 12 touchdowns, Kyle. He was in the playoffs. He was much better. I'll give him that.
He was like Alex Smith, dog.
Yeah, he's like Alex. He was a worse Alex Smith, and in the playoffs played like.
It's like pretty men nowadays. You know, you can work with.
I don't even know what you're saying at this point. I don't think our listeners have any. Do you snort a line of crack before this episode, Kyle? Like, what is wrong with you?
I value tight ends more than
corners. To the AFC Championship with Mark Sanchez at quarterback and Darrelle Revis. The cornerback opposite him, and I know you weren't really watching the Jets this season, was Lito Shepherd, who just got burned every goddamn play. But the fact that the Jets still had the number 1 pass defense, because Darrelle Revis you could match him up with Randy Moss, you could match him up with Andre Johnson, you could match him up with Calvin Johnson, whoever you wanted to, and he would shut him down immediately. Like, I don't know what your argument is here, Kyle. I would 100% take a shutdown corner in today's passing league than a tight end.
I would take a huge mismatch of a tight end in today's passing league when there is not a damn safety and there is not a damn corner to shut him down.
So why didn't Travis Kelce and the Chiefs win a Super Bowl last year?
I don't know. Deficiencies.
Yeah, deficiencies with their robo QB, Pat Mahomes, at quarterback. All right, that was the dumbest. I think that might be your. I can't even say that might be your worst take. There's been like 30 takes worse than that, and that was embarrassing, Kyle. Like, I'm not trying to be demeaning here. And I understand the value that the tight ends have, especially in today's NFL. I'm not trying to demean that. And I think the Jets should take a tight end in this draft, and I think it's very important, and I think the mismatch you get. But you can't argue in a passing league that cornerback don't matter, or at least having a shut. That's right. That's not what you said, because that would be a more logical argument than saying a shutdown corner is less valuable than a top tight end. Because I could even understand the argument you saying cornerbacks don't matter, because I mean, look at the penalties that they could draw. I mean, look at it's just an air raid offense at this point in the NFL, and corners are going to get burned. So maybe you shouldn't invest that much money into a position that's really not going to net you that much. But if you are getting a top tier guy like a Darrelle Revis, means the whole world. If the Jets had a 2009 Darrelle Revis on their team this year, I easily could see him going.
We'd have maybe one or two more wins.
No, I would this year with Le'Veon Bell, like this year, 2019. I could easily see him making a deep run in the playoffs, and even.
Well, the
honestly,
Jets are a playoff team.
If they had 2009 Revis, I could even see him in the Super Bowl. How crazy is that of me to say? That's how big of a difference Darrelle.
Okay.
You put Rob Gronkowski on it, I don't think they're winning a Super Bowl. All right, whatever. That was embarrassing. How do we even get on that? I don't even. You were arguing T.J. Hawkinson could go 4. I mean. I think he could go top 10, but I don't think he's going top 5.
He's better than every corner in this draft by a lot.
I could also see Noah Fant going above him, which I don't necessarily agree with, but I could definitely see him and his, some would argue better receiving skills to go above him. I don't know.
Listen, I'd rather have Hawkinson and Fant over every corner in this draft.
That is 100% complete or different argument. That is like literally 100, because it's a bad cornerback class and it's a great tight end class. That's a different argument, and I would probably
agree. 2 top-heavy guys and then a bunch of guys who ran good 40s, basically. It's not that incredibly deep.
Oh my God, it is. This is the deepest tight end class in probably ever, Kyle. What are you talking about? You can get a guy on day 3 that can start right away.
Who? Name one.
Hold on. I mean, honestly,
Steinberg, Darcy Knox,
Josh
Oliver.
Like
I mean, those are your day 3 guys, and I don't see them starting for the Jets right now.
I'm so glad you brought up Josh Oliver, because I was trying to.
Josh Oliver's good. He will not start for.
What's his name?
Josh Oliver.
Yeah, I know. You just said it. I was thanking you. That's a guy that you could probably get in the 4th round, 5th round, and he could start day 1.
He will not start. He will not start for the Jets.
I'm not saying he should.
Unless Chris Herndon.
I think he could be Chris Herndon. I'm not saying on the Jets, Kyle. I'm saying he could come in and start for any team. It's podcast is like running a podcast with a goddamn toddler. All right, let's keep moving. Giants and Jets. Do you see a trade coming on?
No, I don't. The Giants don't have to move. They'll get arguably one of the best players in the draft sitting where they are, or they'll be idiots and take Daniel Jones.
Who do you think they're taking at 6? You don't think you're going QB?
I think I have Jawan Taylor mocked to him.
Wait, you don't think they'll take a QB at 6?
To be honest, I'm not a huge fan of any of the QBs in this draft. I think Kyler Murray is a good player. He's worth a first-round pick. I think Dwayne Haskins is a good player and is worth a first-round pick. Kyler Murray is the only guy I can make an argument about top 10. I do think Dwayne Haskins will have a better career. I usually don't put size in the prospects, especially at quarterback, because I really think if you can throw the ball, you can throw the ball. But Murray's a small dude. Murray is a really small dude who doesn't have a lot of experience in an NFL offense. And I know those are always the cliches about what you hold against a guy, but if we're being completely honest, he's not like a Trevor Lawrence where you can dominate the NCAA in one way or another. Trevor Lawrence does it by being a quarterback. Kyler Murray does it by being a playmaker. Now, if you can make that work, that's fantastic, but I kind of have him in that Deshaun Watson type of area where, you can definitely win games with this guy, but I'm really not sold on him.
Yeah, I think, Daniel Jones I could not be any lower on. I don't think I've ever seen...
He's so bad. He's so bad.
I don't think I've seen a good quarterback come out with such slow processing. Such slow processing speed, so I don't think that he's going to come out and be good. I don't care if he has Peyton Manning mannerisms. I do think Dwayne Haskins will be good. I worry about him under pressure.
He's a good quarterback. He reminds me a lot of Big Ben.
I worry about him under pressure. 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 I worry about him under pressure Yeah, he does, and he is a fast processor, which I think will help him out. I worry about him under pressure and when the play breaks down, but I think that's one of those things that he might get better at over time. I definitely think if he's there at 6, the Giants will snag him. I don't think he will be there at 6, though. I do think the Jets are going to trade down, and the team that they trade with will take Haskins. Again, the next 2 teams on the list are probably more likely than the first 2, Broncos, and then more specifically the Redskins. I think, look, we know the Broncos love Drew Lock, and I think they're probably comfortable, or at least we can assume. I mean, I guess nothing's finite as we get towards the draft. They could love Dwayne Haskins, but he's just such a John Elway quarterback. He's had a good draft prospect, has had a bit of a rise. People think he should be there at 10. However, a team could try to hop the Broncos if they really like him. Even a team like, an obscure team like the Chargers or somebody trying to get Phillip Rivers' replacement or something like that. I could definitely see the Broncos moving up. I don't know if they'd move up all the way to 3 for Drew Lock. That's why I think they're less likely unless they love Dwayne Haskins or if Drew Lock's stock takes a meteoric rise in the next 24 hours. I think the most likely team picking at 15, the Washington Redskins. What type of compensation do you think we could get from Washington?
I don't know. I don't like when things just pop up the night before the draft. I mean, this whole notion that Dan Snyder has completely taken over the first round, and the last time that he did it, it was with RG3, and I don't know if that's true or not, because it seems like the Redskins can't tell their head from their ass nowadays. They really have no idea what's going on. It doesn't make... They need a quarterback, obviously, but I really think if that was their plan this entire time, they would have dumped Alex Smith for like a second-round pick, basically kind of what the Texans did with Brock Osweiler. Colt McCoy wouldn't have gotten an extension. I don't think you go and make a trade for Case Keenum. You're talking, and then you add potentially a rookie quarterback who's going to be on a multi-million-dollar deal. You're talking about 4 quarterbacks on the roster who all, could be starters at some point. Probably not Alex Smith, but you know what I mean. Making starter money in some way, shape, or form. It just doesn't. That doesn't make fiscal sense to me as an owner. Say, okay, yeah, we need a quarterback in a weak quarterback draft overall, because once you drop away from those 2 guys, I personally think Will Greer is probably the next suitable guy, really, in terms of like what he's actually done, not just potential. Will Greer was a decent college football quarterback who progressed his entire career. Because I saw him at Florida, and then compared to what he did at West Virginia, obviously a lot better there. And then it's like Daniel Jones, Gardner Minshew, Drew Lock somehow might dick his way into the first round, which doesn't make sense to me whatsoever. It just doesn't make sense for me whatsoever for the Redskins to trade up. Will they do it? Probably. It's got to be the most Redskins move ever because they have no idea what they're doing for the most part. And what was your question? The compensation, what would we get if we traded with them? This is a lot. This is 12 picks you're moving up in the NFL draft. I don't know the exact chart, and I feel like the chart's outdated at this point. The Jets gave up basically 3 second-round picks to move up 3 spots. So, you definitely have to swap first-round picks this year. I would like at least a third, definitely a second this year, and then a first next year. I mean, it's going to be a hefty price. You're dropping out of the top 10. You are missing out on elite players in theory. That's how it is supposed to work in theory. You take away the ability to get guys like Quinnen Williams, Nick Bosa, Ed Oliver. I know he's not a need, but Devin White. I mean, T.J. Hawkinson, whoever you consider your top 10 players on your board, you're missing out on them, most likely. That's how it works. So it's got to be a hefty price.
I just want you to know, Kyle, that I put out the poll, not to circle back on this, but I just...
Yeah, what are the results? I'm expecting not to get...
What would you rather have, best cornerback in the league or best tight end? And the first respond within like 10 seconds was, why is this even a question? And it has 3 likes. And right now with... hold on, let me update it. With 34 votes, it is at 85% chance, 85 in best cornerback. That was probably... I don't even know what to say there, Kyle.
I mean, we can look at corners drafted in the past couple of years, and then...
I just wanted to route. All right, whatever. We're past it.
Oh, we can do this. I'll pull a nanny and get all the data on this. I just value tight ends more than corners nowadays. You can get by with decent corners. The Chiefs did it this year.
That wasn't the argument, though. And I can see that.
I've always done it.
That wasn't the argument that I agree that you could maybe invest more into a tight end than a corner. But when you messed up is when you said that the best tight end is less valuable than the best corner in the league. And I was like, whoa, wait.
It's more valuable.
I don't know what the hell I said. Whatever. It's not even important anymore.
Yeah. I'm taking...
Okay. Last kind of teams that could potentially trade up with the Jets. Maybe a wild card team. In my mind, that I think Kyler Murray's going to go 1. I think Quinnen Williams is going to go 2, which a lot of people seem somewhat surprised about. But I do think that he makes more sense for the Niners. I think he looks better on film than Bosa. He doesn't have the injury history that Bosa has. I think Bosa is going to be available at 3 for the Jets, and it's going to be choosing between Bosa and trading down, and then I guess Ed Oliver or Josh Allen if you want to throw him in there. And to me, I mean, I could see a team like the Panthers or the Falcons or whatever who desperately need an edge rusher trading up to 3 and grabbing Bosa.
Oh, but wait. What about Vic Beasley? Oh, that's right. He sucks. Sorry. I just hate Vic. I've hated Vic Beasley for a long time.
Okay, all right. I thought you were like taking a shot at it.
He had one really good year where like half of his sacks were just like wrap-ups, and people are like, "Oh, he's Jesus walking on earth. Mike McCagnon needs to be hung because he didn't take Vic Beasley."
Look, he's fine. I don't think he's terrible. He's not terrible. He's a solid edge rusher. He's probably just a middle-of-the-pack guy. But yeah, a lot of speed sacks, a lot of cleanup sacks. But yeah, they certainly need more of an edge. I don't think that this will happen, but I could see a scenario. I mean, trade-ups for non-quarterbacks do happen. I don't think you're going to get as much of a premium. And when you're talking about teams like the Falcons and the Panthers, you're going to move down a lot, and that's a lot of draft capital, so that's why I think it's less likely. Perhaps a team, like the Lions at 8 would move up, and then the Jets could still get a good amount of draft capital and pick in the top 10. I don't know. But could you see a team moving up for a pass rusher if a guy like Joey Bosa were to fall, or Nick Bosa were to fall, or even, I mean, I'll change the question a little bit, maybe Quinnen Williams. Maybe there's a team that's in love with Quinnen Williams. If the Bills weren't in our division, the Bills would be a good spot for him. Any team like that, could you see a team moving up for a top defensive player and trading with the Jets, specifically Nick Bosa, maybe Quinnen Williams, maybe even, Josh Allen?
Quinnen Williams, maybe. Anybody else? No.
You don't see a team trading up for Bosa?
No, I really don't think the NFL sold on Bosa as much as fans are. There was talks of him being the first overall pick, and now suddenly Arizona, with their biggest need by far being an edge rusher, they have a lot of holes. That's their biggest glaring need. If Nick Bosa, for as much as fans love to talk about him being such a great player, don't you think that would be their pick? When you have a quarterback who you took in the top 10 last year?
Most people thought that would be the logic, Kyle.
Yeah.
Most people agreed that should be the logic that the Cardinals take.
And now San Fran's passing up on them. Something's fishy here, right? I mean,
part of it might be his off the field. Some people are bothered by that, and I think that is something you have to consider. A lot of people are like, I don't give a crap about his political takes. It's not necessarily that. It's more about how he's going to fit in the locker room.
Listen, I think Brian Burns is arguably the better pure pass rusher. I'll leave that up to debate to the professionals because I do think they're both good pass rushers. I've watched Brian Burns for a long time because Florida State just happens to be on where I live quite a bit. He's a good player. I mean, he's a good pass rusher. As much as I hate the Seminoles, he's an NFL pass rusher all the way. He's kind of like who was the guy out of Derek Barnett? It's kind of what his draft stock reminds me of. Just work out ball. So I don't think you need to trade up for a pass rusher right now. I think Nick Bosa's sliding for a reason, and I think teams who clear him would be comfortable with Montez Sweat or Brian Burns. Why give up that capital when you can get a similar player?
Yeah, except I think if you're a team like the Panthers, I think Burns is gone by then. I could see Burns. I think Burns is going to go ahead of Sweat. I think Burns has had a pretty high rise. I could definitely see him go. I could see him going top 10. I think definitely he'll go between 10 and 15. I don't see him getting past the Falcons. I mean, I think the Dolphins could take him. I think there's just a lot of teams that could take him. I think the Panthers are sitting in like Clelin Ferrell territory if they want to take an edge rusher. So I could see it theoretically happening. I agree with you. I don't necessarily agree with you that. I don't think we share the same opinion of Bosa. I don't think Bosa is, a otherworldly, but I do think he is probably the second best player in the draft. I would probably put Quinnen Williams as the best player in the draft, but I would say he's the second best player and the best edge rusher, and he certainly has a high ceiling. So yeah, those are some of the trade down options. At the end of the day, I mean, we'll talk about predictions towards the end of the episode, but I do think the Jets will trade down. I think they will get an offer. I think that it's helped the last few days. The stock of Dwayne Haskins rising a bit. So I do think the Jets will ultimately move out of the third pick. I think they've made it clear that they want to recoup the picks that they lost last year. They certainly have a lot of holes. I mean, look, we have to address center first and foremost. We have to address cornerback.
I don't think that will get addressed.
Yeah, I mean, look, we have to address edge rusher, corner, and center as just plain starters. And then it's like, okay, so once you've gotten that, then you have offensive line depth. I mean, you probably want more tackle depth. You could argue that Brian Winter should be replaced at guard. Then you're like, okay, well, wide receiver depth. I mean, Quincy Nunwa has struggled with injuries throughout his career. Jamison Crowder has a bit as well. Robbie Anderson is rail thin. I mean, there's nothing saying that he couldn't go across the middle and get snapped in half. It's like, and then after that, are we playing Josh Bellamy at receiver, Deontay Burnett? I mean, like, so receivers depth is a need. So there's a lot of issues where it's like the Jets should stockpile some lottery picks, especially if they're not sold on any of the top edge rushers, like that report came out. So I definitely think they'll trade down at the end of the day. But for all intents and purposes, Kyle, let's do a mock draft. We'll switch off. Would you rather have the odds or the evens?
I figured we would just ask like Siri, like heads or tails.
Okay, I'll do that.
Okay.
I can do it if I get. Hold on, let me say. If I get tails, I'll do the odds. If it's tails, I'll do the odds. If it's heads, I'll do the evens. All right.
Okay. You gotta hold it to the mic.
Yeah. All right. Hey Siri, flip a coin.
It's heads.
What was that again? I'm doing evens. All right. So you're on the clock. I guess for this, try to make it realistic. Like, pick Kyler Murray probably for the Cardinals.
Yeah.
Make it somewhat realistic. On this one, let's make it as realistic as possible. Let's not necessarily do what I would do. Because like if I was the Giants, I might do something completely different than what
So we only get 30 seconds on the clock.
Yeah,
we
30
should
seconds.
clarify that.
I'll set the timer. We get 30 seconds to talk, and then we have 30 seconds maximum to talk about it if we want. I mean, as we get towards the end of the first round, I think we're going to have less to say. But all right, you were on the clock.
Okay. So to be realistic, I'm going to go ahead and take Kyler Murray. If I'm going to be honest, I would never take Kyler Murray number 1 overall. I would not touch him with a top 5 pick. If I were the Arizona Cardinals, I'd take Quinnen Williams, and I'd build my team the right way. I would not trade away my personal number 1 quarterback from last year. I believe he was your personal number 1. A lot of really good people who I trust was number 1. He showed a lot of good things last year when he actually had time to throw the ball. I mean, we're talking about the Cardinals. That they have the number 1 pick for a reason. Is my time up?
Yeah, I mean, you can.
Oh, horrible team. Horrible team. And you blame a coach. Coach got fired for no reason. Nothing you can do with talent. I mean, Josh Rosen and him sound like they're getting the short end of the stick, and this is just, I don't know. I really don't understand, but piss poor management by the Cardinals, in my opinion.
Yeah, you actually made it out fine on time because I realized you didn't take 30 seconds to pick him. With this next pick, I'm going to go Quinnen Williams for the Niners. I think he's the best player in this draft. I think he fills a need for them. I think he plays well alongside Eric Armstead and Dee Ford, who they just traded for. And yeah, I think he's a good fit for them at 2. And just a reminder, we can't make trades in this. So Kyle, you're on the clock 3 with the New York Jets. You cannot make any trades. You have to and try to make it realistic because I know you just said you're not a Nick Bosa fan. So I could see you saying Jawan Taylor or Ed Oliver, which theoretically, I mean, like it could happen. They could pass on Nick Bosa, but try to weigh it as what you think they would do.
Okay, so I'm on the clock.
Yep.
Okay, did Nick Bosa ever visit the Jets? Did we ever get confirmation about that?
No, he was supposed to, and then he I think we canceled, or there was a snafu, and they didn't do it. I don't necessarily know, Kyle, if that means that he's not going to get picked.
Okay.
They might have met with him at the combine.
So
I think they met with him at the combine. Now that
it's a possibility. Yeah.
I think they met with him.
Okay, how much time do I have?
They just didn't have him in for a visit.
Oh my God, Ben, how much time?
It doesn't matter. Just talk. Just keep it short.
Okay, I don't like Nick Bosa. I would not take him with the third overall pick. I don't think he would mesh well with the media. I think the media is going to scrutinize him, and I don't think he's worth it as a player. He's not good enough as his brother, and he's had injury issues, and frankly, I think he quit on his team last year when they were trying to make a college football playoff run. And I understand wanting to get the bag for yourself, but his injury was not severe enough that would honestly risk his career, and I hold that against him. So I'm going to take an athlete who I think is really comparable to Aaron Donald, and I've heard a lot that the Jets are kind of with this guy, and I'm going to go Ed Oliver. I think Nick Bosa is the more realistic pick for Mike McCagnon just taking.
I could definitely see the Jets taking Ed Oliver over Nick Bosa and watching the fan base implode.
Ed Oliver was criminally underused in college, just so poorly. Used as a nose tackle. Still, Dame will be used as a 3-tech in the NFL, can generate pressure, is great in the run game, is a great athlete, can disrupt the middle. The only guy that you can really compare him to right now in the NFL, because Ed Oliver is ripped. Ed Oliver is in great shape. You just look at him, he reminds you a lot of Aaron Donald, just physically. I'm not saying he's going to be Aaron Donald, but he has that physical build. He's never been used correctly. I know Greg Williams loves the guy. There was a report saying that they met together and all they watched was Aaron Donald film because that's the only guy you can compare him to athletically.
I mean, you could put him at the 3. You could even put him at the 5-tech and line him up against the tackle, and I think he has the athleticism to do it.
Beat him.
All right, so you're taking Ed Oliver. Now I'm sitting 4 with the Raiders. I do buy into the hype that they like Dwayne Haskins a lot. But Nick Bosa is staring him in the face. I think if this scenario were to happen, I think that they would – I don't even know what they would – honestly, this is a tough pick. I think they're going to go Haskins. I buy into the Dwayne Haskins talk. I just do. I think they do like Dwayne.
Wow.
No, never mind. I'm changing it. That was such a wimpy thing to do. All of a sudden, I had this realization that I could definitely see Mike Mayock and John Gruden going like, this guy's a real grinder, and they're going to take Nick Bosa and then roll with Derek Carr for another year. So I'll go with Bosa.
Go on Bosa? Okay.
And we'll post this on our Twitter because I'm doing it on the Draft Network at the moment, so I can put the screen grab on Twitter.
Okay. Tampa Bay. Linebacker's a huge need. Devin White is a good player. Edge rusher is also a big need. I don't think Brian Burns goes this early. And Nick Bosa's off the board. This is tricky. Oh, Josh Allen's still available. Okay. I think they go Josh Allen. I'm going to take Josh Allen.
Really? All right.
Yeah.
I definitely thought they were going to go Devin White there. All right, now the Giants are on the clock. Obviously, they have a need at edge. They have a need at quarterback. I think if they're faced in this situation, they will go quarterback. I 100% would not take Daniel Jones here. If I were the Giants, I would either go.
Do it.
I mean, if I was going to take a quarterback. Oh wait, never mind. Dwayne Haskins hasn't been taken. Yeah, if I'm the Giants, I'd take Dwayne Haskins here. Part of me buys into the Daniel Jones hype, but Dwayne Haskins is still sitting there. I forgot that I didn't take him with the Raiders. I'll go Dwayne Haskins to the Giants.
So you're taking Haskins? All right.
Yeah. I just done the most homework on him. He's the hometown kid. I buy into it. He grew up a Giants fan. I think he'll be a Giant.
All right.
And then all the crapping we've done on the Giants. Then I mean, now you're pairing Haskins with Barkley. I still think they have a somewhat I think they have a good receiving core. It's not as good as it used to be. Their defense is still trash, but their offensive line is pretty good now too. So, and they have a 17th pick. So the Giants, I don't think are going to actually be as bad as people think they will be, especially if they draft Dwayne Haskins.
Yeah. Okay.
Honestly, if they didn't trade OBJ, I think they'd be looking pretty good right now. Besides that defense, but
yeah, Dave Gettleman just doesn't get the whole GMing thing.
Yeah,
okay.
All right, your pick 7 with the Jaguars on the clock.
Yeah. They took Cam Robinson last year, who's kind of going to fill in as their left tackle. I was a big Cam Robinson guy, as you guys remember. Their right tackle's kind of tough. Nick Foles needs protection. I personally have Jonah Williams as my number 1, but they already have a left tackle, and I think they're sort of comfortable with Andrew Norwell's left guard. They signed him for a reason. So I'm going to go ahead and take Jawan Taylor.
All right.
I would like to note I've heard completely from Jags fans that they're going to take a tight end. So.
Really? So
Yep.
why didn't you mock T.J. Hawkinson then?
I think tackle is a bigger need for them right now.
So you think they'll go? You think they'll go tackle then?
Yeah, but I would not be surprised if that's where T.J. Hawkinson goes. I wouldn't be surprised if he goes top 5 or top 10. He's a very talented player.
I don't think he's going top 5, but I could definitely see him top 10. Yeah, and I think the Jaguars are the highest he'll go if he goes there. I could see him with the Lions.
I can see him in Oakland, man. That's such a John Gruden pick. A great, he's going to be a star.
If they trade down a few picks, I just don't see him at 4. I just don't think the tight end is worth the 4th pick. Even though I think he's going to be good. But it's just, I don't know. I don't see him taking him over a top edge rusher or a top tackle or a top quarterback or something like that. I just don't see it. Now pick number 8 on the clock with the Detroit Lions. Okay, I mean, look, part of me is tempted to say they want to get their Calvin Johnson Jr. and take DK Metcalf, but I don't think it makes much sense.
That's not a thing.
I don't think it'll happen. Wide receiver is a need for them, but not as primary of a need for them. They do have a need at corner. I think this is too early for Greedy Williams. They do have a need at tight end. This is where you could see T.J. Hawkinson go. Devin White is still on the board, even though he's not necessarily a need for them. He is probably the best player on the board right now. But I'm going to have him taking Brian Burns. I think this is where he's going to go. I think
I could see that.
Is arguably the best pass rusher in the draft. They need an edge player. I think Matt Patricia's going to like his versatility. He can put his hand in the dirt, and he's a really good pass rusher. So, and he has a lot of the one thing I just wanted to add. I mean, when I say he's a really good pass rusher, it's not just because he's like Josh Allen and has 17 sacks in the SEC. It's because of just the amount of moves in his arsenal. I don't think he's just a pure speed rusher. I think probably his biggest concern in college was his size. He's added some weight. He looked good at the combine. He played well there. I think he's going to play well at his new weight. So I'm just going Brian Burns 8. You're on the clock, number 9 with the Buffalo Bills.
Yeah, this is interesting.
I know who they'd take.
You said Brian Burns, right?
I said Brian Burns for the Lions, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I could see that with Matt Patricia, 100%.
There's such an obvious Bills pick here that I'll be disappointed if you don't get him.
Okay, so I think the obvious one is DK Metcalf.
Yep.
But you got to remember, this team's built on defense, right? This is the Buffalo Bills. They kind of pride themselves on that. The head coach prides himself on that.
If Ed Oliver was still there, I think this is where he'd go if he falls to. I don't think he gets past Buffalo.
Okay, so they drafted Tremaine Edmonds in the first round last year. Matt Milano's pretty good. Lorenzo Alexander's still out there. Jerry Hughes is still good. The defensive line's good. The secondary's good. I mean, they have a really solid defense, so I can't really rationalize taking a defender for them, but all the best talent right now is on defense. Now, their wide receiving core is pretty bad. John Brown, Zay Jones, and Cole Beasley. I mean, the best player on there is a white rapper. The offensive line, also pretty piss poor. They lost Eric Wood at center. They lost their left guard. They lost their left tackle.
You're looking at Spencer Long, Kyle.
Yeah.
And Mitch Morse.
And you're talking about whole backups. This is a horrible offensive line, and you're asking
Morse
Josh.
Backup. He's a starting center. Big money from the Chiefs.
I said Ty Nishke.
Oh, I said Mitch Morse. Sorry. I thought I didn't hear what you said. My bad.
Okay, cool. I'm not sold on DK Metcalf. I'm pretty sold. He wasn't a good wide receiver in college. I think that's pretty simple, and you can't deny it. The stats say that he wasn't. You look at the film, he wasn't a great wide receiver. He's a freakish athlete who makes some nice catches. Doesn't mean he's going to be a great NFL wide receiver. I mean, this is like if Stephen Hill was on roids, it'd be DK Metcalf. This is I'm not completely sold on him.
Yeah, I mean, he's a ceiling pick, but so is Josh Allen. I mean, Josh Allen wasn't a great quarterback in college.
And they made a horrible pick.
He wasn't a good receiver is not necessarily true. Part of it's due to Part of it's due to the offense, the amount of the other receivers that are around him, and A.J. Brown, and also the offense and that Ole Miss runs. And targets that he was getting. I mean, he only had 5 touchdowns, and 26 receptions. But also, you have to look at what he was doing in those touchdowns and those plays, and when he was throwing the ball. I'm higher on DK Metcalf than you are. I don't think his 3-cone is as big of a deal as other people.
No, his 3-cone wasn't bad. He slept.
Yeah. So.
Okay, so I don't know how.
I think he's the pick if he's here or there. If this is the way the board breaks, I don't see him really passing a DK Metcalf, especially given the current state of the receiving room. I like John Brown a lot. I think Cole Beasley is going to be a 6 slot for them. I think Zay Jones has some potential, but they really, they could use a big number 1 like DK Metcalf, especially to pair with their big, tall quarterback, Josh Allen.
Their offensive line is so bad. I have a hard time passing on Jonah Williams, who can play tackle and guard for you, just depending on where you want him in his rookie year.
I already.
Okay.
Change it if you want.
No. I'm going to go DK. It makes sense. They need a wide receiver.
Damn it! I got to restart the whole draft.
Why did you restart the draft?
Because you said you were going to take Jonah, and so then I selected Jonah. It's fine. I already know the next pick. Denver Broncos picking 10th. I think it's Drew Lock. I think this is just a John Elway as the Broncos quarterback. I necessarily wouldn't take him here. What are you giggling about?
This Drew Lock is so bad, man. He is
I'm not
so
saying I would take
bad.
him.
This doesn't make sense. What's the Stephen A. Smith clip? I've been bamboozled. What else? A lot of big words. What else does he use in that?
Hoodwinked.
Hoodwinked, led astray, deceived, lied to. Drew Lock sucks. He should not be a top 10 pick. Oh my God. I don't care how tall or how wide he is. God.
He's a John Elway quarterback, and I think you're drafting him for his ceiling. He does have a nice arm, but again, you have to worry about mechanics.
Drew Lock's the type of guy who was breastfed until he was 6 years old. That's what Drew Lock reminds me of.
I don't even know what to respond to that with.
It's bad. It's not good.
11, Cincinnati Bengals, big need at linebacker, Devin White.
All right, you actually took Drew Lock.
Yeah, I'm not saying I would take him. I think he's going to Denver. I'm pretty confident he's going to Denver.
All right.
I don't think they're rolling into the season with Joe Flacco as their only starter and nothing else. I think John Elway knows he's on the hot seat and has to get something going.
Okay, this is pretty easy. I'm going Devin White.
Yeah, very easy pick there for the Bengals. Super obvious and the best inside linebacker in the class, and not worth the 11th pick. He should be a top 5 pick in my mind. Then we go to the Packers. Obvious needs at safety, tight end, offensive line. They could use a receiver. But I think the way the board's breaking, there's no safety that's worth this pick. There's only tight ends. It's between Fant and Hawkinson. I'm going to go Hawkinson. I think this is a great fit for Green Bay.
That's a solid pick.
I think this is where he's going to go.
That's such a Green Bay pick.
Yeah, I think he's perfect for their culture, and I think he'll be huge for Aaron Rodgers. So you're on the clock. Pick 13 with the Miami Dolphins.
Miami Dolphins. Okay.
Daniel Jones still available.
Fuck no.
I'm not saying who you would take. I'm just saying you should choose who.
No, I truly think the Dolphins wouldn't have signed Ryan Fitzpatrick if they wanted a quarterback this year. I think they're tanking completely 100% for Tua or Lawrence down the road. They took a tight end early last year, so that takes Fant off the board. I'm kind of surprised. I'm pretty sure Rashad Jones hasn't been cut yet, but from what I've been reading from Travis and a bunch of other Dolphins people that I talked to, they're saying that he's going to get cut, so safety could become a need. I don't see Nazir Adderley or Chauncey Gardner-Johnson going this early. This is an interesting situation for them to be in.
Yeah, it's like, where do they even go?
Yeah, there are just so many holes on the team. Okay, so
you really just take the best player available at this point.
That's what I'm thinking.
They did draft a tight end last year, so you probably don't want to take Fant.
Yeah.
But you could go. Where would I go here? You look at Andre Dillard. You look at Jonah Williams.
How is the Patriots defense built? Strong secondary.
good linebackers, and then versatile defensive linemen.
Okay. So I could say that about literally any team's plan. Dolphins took Jerome Baker last year, Raquan McMillan 2 years ago. I don't see them investing in linebacker. They're obviously comfortable with Kiko Alonso. Bobby McCain and Xavier Howard are pretty good. Minka and TJ McCon. Okay, their secondary overall is pretty good. It usually doesn't work out like that. Charles Harris they took 2 years ago. Akeem Spence and Devon Goodo, not great inside. And I really do think this team is going to be built on defense with, oh boy, I'm going to forget the coach's name. Linebackers coach from the Patriots, Brian Flores. And I think the best defensive player available, and this might be a reach, but I think the best player available is Jeffrey Simmons. And I think they'll take him.
Wow.
Yeah, he's really good.
He is. I like him a lot, but over like Montez Sweat,
yeah,
Rashawn Gary, not necessarily guys that I think are better, but just, I mean. All right, let me go find. He's not even. Where is he?
He was the number 17 overall player
for TDN's player rankings, but not necessarily their big board doesn't even have him in like the top few picks. Anyways, 14, the Atlanta Falcons needs really all over the defense. Really just their defense, and then I guess offensive line with Matt Ryan. Again, it's a situation of like, okay, who is here that kind of the best player available type of look again. Christian Wilkins makes a lot of sense. I could definitely see him here, plugging up a hole next to Grady Jarrett, especially since he's playing on the franchise tag. And I think that's where they're going to go. I think they'll go Christian Wilkins here. I think they'll shore up the inside of there.
Over Clelin Ferrell?
Yes. I like Clelin Ferrell more than a lot of people do, but I think Christian Wilkins is a really good inside defensive lineman, and I think he'll match up nicely right next to Grady Jarrett as a 4-3 defensive tackle.
So you're 100% taking him?
Yeah, I already selected him. Yeah.
Okay, just making sure. All right, so the Redskins. Yikes! This is a horrible team. Actually, I lied to you. I don't think it's that bad. The offense is bad. The offense is bad.
They just don't really have a quarterback, and their offense is missing some pieces. But the defense is kind of nice.
Okay, so wide receivers, tough. Josh Doxson, Trey Quinn, Paul Richardson, kind of tough. Trent Williams, Eric Flowers at left guard. That's a no.
Yeah, their offense is bad, and they don't have an edge rusher. That's about it.
Okay, so Jonah Williams immediately comes to mind. Darius Geis and Adrian Peterson and Samaje Perine and Chris Thompson and Rob Kelly. That's really solid running backs.
You could take Williams and move him inside the guard.
Yeah. Jonathan Allen, Deron Payne, and Matt Ioannaz. That's a solid defensive line. Ryan Anderson, Mason Foster, Reuben Foster, Ryan Kerrigan. Really good linebacking core.
Speed it up here on the clock.
Okay, yeah. I'm gonna go Jonah Williams.
Picking here 16 with the Carolina Panthers. I think they have an obvious need at edge rusher. They get lucky with how the board breaks because in a lot of the mock drafts that I've done, the best guy available at this point is probably Clelin Ferrell, who again I like a lot, but
bro, I think there's a really obvious pick here. It's such a Panthers pick.
Would you like to enlighten me? I was probably going to go. It's between Montez Sweat and Rashawn Gary for me, probably because they just so need an edge rusher. I could also see them potentially going Andre Dillard here because they do need some offensive line help, but they really just have nobody that can get after the pass rusher, and I think they could probably get a tackle in round 2. So for me, I'd probably go Montez Sweat between these two. But I like Clelin Ferrell a lot, and this is the guy. He's the guy that I keep having mocked to the Panthers, and I think he's a good fit there. But I'll go with Montez Sweat. Who are you going to say?
I honestly thought Greg Olson was retired, so I'm going to retract my statement.
Yeah, you were going to say.
Yeah.
Right,
because, we didn't expect them to take Christian McCaffrey. And, I just feel like they like to take explosive offensive players every now and then.
Yeah, for sure. All right, 17 Giants. Who are you taking?
Who'd you have them taking?
I have them taking Dwayne Haskins. So Daniel Jones isn't there for them.
No. The Panthers.
Oh, Montez Sweat.
Oh, okay. I was like, I don't think Cam's going to like that.
For 17 with the Giants, I mean, you're probably looking defense, or you could try to shore up the right side, or get that right tackle for your offensive line and really complete the whole unit.
All right, so they took Haskins.
Yeah, you took Haskins. I mean, Devin Bush is still there. That's a guy they had a 2-day visit with and did a lot of work on. For me, that would probably be the pick, but I mean, you could take Fant and pair him up with Evan Ingram. I think they actually already have a good
I'm not going to.
I forgot his name, but I'm pretty sure they have a good backup. And you're like 40 seconds.
Okay. Yeah.
Really breaking all
Garrett Bradbury.
They don't need a center.
Garrett Bradbury.
They don't need a center.
John Halapio?
Yeah. He was pretty good last year. Their only hole on offensive line is right tackle at the moment.
This is an immediate starter, dog.
Yeah, and Halapio was like a top 10 center last year. That pick, Kyle, makes zero sense. And now you're just going to argue it so you don't look like dumb. But I'm not saying you're dumb for not knowing the Giants starting center, but like the pick just makes no sense at all.
Dog, I looked at it. I was like, that dude sucks.
Based off his last name, Jalapeno.
No, he's pretty sure he's been on like 4 or 5 teams. Good players don't go to 4 or 5 teams.
I'm pretty sure you just pulled that out of your ass, but okay. Because let me just look at his Wikipedia for a real sec, and actually maybe. Hold on, keep talking.
He's been on 5 teams, dog. I looked it up.
Damn, you were right. All right, never mind. But he is better than you're giving him credit for because he's actually played pretty well last year.
I'm about to go on PFF and look that up.
Dude, you're like at like 2 minutes for this pick, man. Come on.
I picked him. I picked Garrett Bradbury.
You don't... okay, I just don't want to select it because he just makes no sense for them. But
I already picked him, dog.
All right, fine. Yeah, wow, he just...
Your pick.
Hold on, I'm just... Now I'm kind of looking at this to see if he's even... Yeah, Jalapeno hadn't played center before. He had just transitioned when he was at the Giants.
Nice.
It's
reassuring.
Yeah, I mean, they theoretically, the way this frames it is, it wouldn't... They have a lot more needs, and Jalapeno was a pretty solid starter for them. But, all right, Garrett Bradbury. I don't think that happens. But 18 with the Vikings. I'll speed this up as we get towards the end of the
Well, I cucked the Vikings right there. They definitely need offensive linemen.
Yeah, they do, but I'm going to take Andre Dillard, who I think is probably the best pure pass-protecting left tackle in the draft. 19 with the Titans. Let's speed it up, Kyle.
Hold on, I got to find Andre Dillard. Where'd he go? I lost him. Tackle.
Dude.
There it. Hop off my dick. Ben.
You were the one who was like 30 seconds, and now it's 10:06, and it's just...
I really have no idea who's on.
It doesn't matter. Just pick your guy and find him when I'm picking my next guy. Just go. Come on, Titans. Nobody wants to listen to dead air.
Okay, we'll talk then.
I've told you what I want you to do. That was me speaking. Me speaking was Kyle, your pick, 19, Titans. If you'd like me to talk more about Andre Dillard, he fits in with the Vikings. They need offensive linemen. He's the best pass-protecting left tackle. It's such a pick for them. Over Rashawn Gary and... yeah.
Rashawn Gary's not good. Stop bringing up Rashawn Gary.
I don't like him, but he is a top prospect.
No, he's not.
I'm saying, like, from the NFL heads. I'm not saying my personal big board. I don't think he's a top 5 edge rusher. He would probably be like the 9th best edge rusher in my mind, 8th best edge rusher. But I'm pausing because I had to sneeze, and it was just such an awkward amount of time for it to like build up. All right, Steelers 20. I think they need a cornerback. I think this is where Greedy Williams goes. I think he's just a good fit in Pittsburgh's defense.
Yeah, that's who I had in my mock draft.
Joe Hayden. Yeah. All right, 21 with you and the Seahawks.
Okay. Also corner, Byron
Edge
Murphy.
after trading Frank Clark.
Oh,
This
Byron
is where
Murphy.
I had Clelin Ferrell going if he slips past the Panthers, but again, Sean Gary available. I know you're not a big fan of him. They could take Fant if they want to refill the Jimmy Graham hole. Or fill the Jimmy Graham hole. They could take a safety a little early, but...
Byron Murphy, dog. I already took him.
Oh, all right. Slot corner from Washington. Boom. All right, 22 with the Ravens. I think this one is there's a few options here, but it all surrounds the same thing that the Jets and the Bills and I would say the Cardinals and the Browns are doing, and that's surround your young quarterback with talent and offensive line. And really, the Ravens need both. Specifically, the interior of the offensive line is where they need some help. But their offensive line as a whole is much better off than the receiver position. They have 0 receivers at the moment that I think are that good. And this is where it gets tricky, is which one. I think this is a relatively deep receiver class, but it's not top-heavy, and it's so who do you value the most? I could see a guy like Hollywood Brown going here, but part of me feels like they'll go with N'Keal Harry as the second receiver taken off the board after DK. I'm tempted to put Hakeem Butler, but I just think they like N'Keal Harry's versatility in that offense. You're going to be running an unorthodox running offense with Lamar Jackson, but you need a guy who can really do it all. And N'Keal Harry can line up in the backfield alongside Lamar Jackson, and he can also go deep, and he can bring down contested balls. He's a hell of an athlete and can even return kicks. I think he's just a perfect fit for the Baltimore Ravens and a nice best friend for Lamar Jackson. So you're on the clock,
Yeah.
23 with the Houston Texans.
All right, so you're 100% N'Keal Harry?
Again, I just said it.
Okay, just making sure. I definitely would have went with Deebo Samuel. He literally has played running back and is a kick returner, punt returner.
So
Fits a lot of what I'm just saying, I think Deebo's the number 1 receiver in this draft, in my opinion. I'm just saying, that would have been my pick.
That's fine.
Okay,
That's fine. I think these whole these receivers, you can really rank them.
Yeah, whichever way you want. They're all pretty
there's
good.
There's probably 10 that are all around the same area of skill. Between him, Butler, A.J. Brown, Samuel, I think Riley Ridley's amazing, Terry McLaurin, Kelvin Harmon. There's a lot of good receivers in this class, and it bodes well for the Jets getting one in the 3rd round. But your pick, 23. Texans.
Yeah, Texans' offensive line is kind of hot trash everywhere you look.
Yep.
I would really like to take Noah Fant for them here because I think that's just another weapon with DeAndre Hopkins and Will Fuller. Their tight ends are pretty poor, honestly. It's Jordan Thomas and Ryan Griffin. I know Griffin's kind of been serviceable for him, but Fant could offer so much more. But the protection of Deshaun Watson, since you've made this investment, is so important for them. And Cody Ford is a guy who can play guard and tackle. Chris Lindstrom's also there, Eric McCoy. But Cody Ford's so versatile. He's done it for Baker. He's done it for Kyler Murray. He knows, Deshaun, Baker, Kyler, they all kind of play the same way, kind of that movement in the pocket. So I'm going to go ahead and go with Cody Ford.
Yeah. Now 24 with the Oakland Raiders. This is actually my own mock draft. I had Hawkinson going here because I originally had the Packers taking Fant over Hawkinson, not because that's how I value them. I could see Fant fitting better in their vertical passing offense with Aaron Rodgers. But they're sitting here and he's looking him right in the face, and I think that's a really John Gruden pick. They also need running back, and Josh Jacobs makes a lot of sense for them, but I think it's pretty obvious that they can get him at 27 if they wanted to, or not take a running back in the 1st and get a guy like David Montgomery or whatever in the 3rd. Daniel Jones is there again. If Gruden believes in Daniel Jones, I don't think they do or he does, because they're also not sitting in a position like the Dolphins are, where they just have nobody at quarterback. Derek Carr isn't an amazing quarterback, but he's not the worst quarterback. He's probably like middle of the pack. They can. I'll put it this way. They could theoretically.
He can win games.
He can win games, and I could see him getting into the playoffs. I don't think he's a Super Bowl winner. Maybe he wins a playoff game. But I don't think he wins that much. I don't think he's going to win that much for the Raiders. But I don't think Daniel Jones is worth it there. The question becomes is if Gruden falls in love with him. We don't get the luxury of watching Gruden's QB camp anymore. But I would have been fascinated to see what his take was on Daniel Jones. Then you're looking at, okay, they have a huge hole at linebacker, and Devin Bush is still there. In a deep tight end class, I think they'd go with the linebacker and show up the defense.
You fucker. You son of a bitch.
Hold on. I want to make sure. Yeah, I took Nick Bosa in the 4th. So they got their edge rusher. Devin Bush is there. Fant is staring him right in the face. But I think Gruden is going to... Oh, God, but I think we'll go with the leader of the defense. I think he'll take Devin Bush. He had Derek Brooks in Tampa Bay, and I think this is his version of that. In his mind, I think he needs his leader on the defense, and I think he'll take it in Devin Bush. Perfect pick for Gruden. You're on the clock 25 with the Philadelphia Eagles.
Fuck you. I was going to take him. The Eagles have horrible linebackers, dog.
Jordan Hicks is bad, and they play a 4-3. So Jordan Hicks is actually pretty good, Kyle. What are you talking about?
Jordan Hicks is gone, according to this depth chart.
No, he resigned. Oh, you're right. He left. You're right. He left. My bad. I'm sorry. Yeah.
Where'd he go?
I looked up Jordan Hicks, middle linebacker, and it brought me to he went to the Cardinals, and it brought me to a baseball player from MLB. He's at the Cardinals now. My apologies.
Yeah, they have horrible linebackers.
On the draft network,
it doesn't
list it as one of their needs.
Yeah, I know. And safeties are Rodney McLeod and Malcolm Jenkins, which you can work with. They won a Super Bowl with those guys. I
don't think McLeod is that good, and Jenkins is up there in age.
Yeah, but I think linebacker is such a bigger need for them. And it also says tackle is a huge need for them, and they still have...
They have Peters and Johnson, but Jason Peters is like 39.
He's getting old, right? But, he's...
he is old. He's not even getting... He's like almost 40. He's
pretty old. Okay, so it's...
Again, Rashawn Gary is there, who I don't like, but at 25, I like him a lot more.
I'm not taking somebody in the front 4. Because they took Garrett Burnett last year. They spent a lot of money.
They did add, what's his face? They re-signed Brandon Graham, and they added, who did they just add? Malik Jackson in the middle of their defense. Yeah. I think you're right. They don't need too much in their front 7.
Okay, so I guess I'm going to go safety then. Chauncey Gardner and Nazir Adderley are sitting there.
Yeah, it really just comes down to who you think is your best safety. A guy to watch, though, that's really kind of flown up draft boards is Darnell Savage. I think he could really sneak into the end of the first here.
Young Savage, why are you trapping so hard? Everything I hear about Nazir is that he's good. I mean, he's just a ball player. I've never watched film on him, to be honest. I watched 3.5 years of Chauncey Gardner-Johnson, and the first 2 years were pretty bad. And this last year, where he just learned how to tackle, was phenomenal, and I think he's the best safety in the draft class now because of it. So I'm going to take him. He's very versatile, too.
Sweet. All right, 26 with the Colts. A lot they could do here. Because, one, they have so many picks in this draft, thanks to Mike McCagnon. And that wasn't shitting on the trade, by the way. I think it worked out for both sides. And they have a good, talented team. I think, again, you're looking at the best player available. Noah Fant would make so much sense to them if they didn't have Eric Ebron. They could theoretically draft him and pair him with Ebron. Because, look, it wasn't like Ebron was a game changer before he came to Indianapolis last year. You could pair him and have a nice 2 tight end offense. So that's an option. They do need interior defensive linemen. If a guy, what am I trying to say? Christian Wilkins. If Christian Wilkins or Jeffrey Simmons was here, maybe you consider that. Outside of that, maybe you could get Luck another weapon. Look at Marquise Brown or Hakeem Butler. A lot they could do. I think you go best player available. Oof, this is tough. This is really tough. I don't honestly know where they should go here. I'll go Hakeem Butler. I'll give Andrew Luck a nice... Noah Fant. Taking Noah Fant. I think they're going to take best player available. And I think they're going to pair him up with
Eric Ebron was a Pro Bowler last year. They're going to spend a first-round pick on tight end.
And Chris Herndon was a very good tight end for the Jets the second half of the year, and you want to use a first on a tight end. So...
Okay, T.J. Hawkinson's a lot better than Chris Herndon.
And Noah Fant is arguably a lot better than Eric Ebron. I
don't know about that.
It just comes down to their confidence level of it. Yeah, Hakeem Butler. Never mind. Hakeem Butler. I think this is where they take him. I think they like him. Take his length. All right, 27 with the Raiders.
That's what she said. This is pretty easy. Noah Fant.
Yeah, exactly. I think they took kind of a risk in taking and not taking him at 24 and taking Devin Bush, but I mean he's still there, perfect pick for them. And now and then you look at what the Raiders did in the first round of our mock draft right here, and getting Bosa, Bush, and Fant. I mean that's probably they have to be the biggest day one winners after that. I find it hard to believe how they won't be listed with one of the winners, given they have 3 picks, and so they're guaranteed to have people that. Or picks that at least one person likes. So I think the Raiders are going to have a great first night of the draft. It's kind of hard with 3 picks to not do at least do well on at least one of them. But Fant, Bush, and Bosa draft class is just insane. Now with the Chargers, I've seen some quarterbacks mocked here because of Rivers getting old. I don't think they like Daniel Jones. So I'm not going to take Daniel Jones. Really, they could use some help in the trenches again. An offensive tackle would be nice here, but I don't. I mean. They could take Dalton Risner. It's a little bit of a reach. I think they'll go Jerry Tillery from Notre Dame, who's had a really good combine process. They could use some help on the interior defensive line. I think they'll pair him with Bosa and Ingram and be happy.
All right, Seahawks. I already got a corner for them. Yeah, Nazir Adderley's still there, and from what I understand, let me just double check their safety. 1 second. My pick's probably going to be Nazir Adderley, but let me just quadruple check. This Bragg McDougald and Tedrick Thompson. So yeah, Nazir Adderley is going to be the pick. We're remaking the Legion of Boom.
All right, 30 with the Packers, courtesy of the New Orleans Saints. Again, they need a safety. I think this is the spot where they take a safety. And for them, it's just kind of preference. I mean, they could go Jonathan Abram from Mississippi State, Taylor Rapp from Washington. They could take Darnell Savage. Actually, let me hold on. I want to really quickly, because you've taken time on your picks, let me just look up what type of safety they need, because I don't actually know if they need more of a free safety or a strong safety. I just know they need one based off the needs thing on the Draft Network. I don't want to be wrong here. They have Amos and Tramon Williams. Okay, so they just have 2 older guys is what the problem is. It seems more that they could use a strong safety. So since Tramon Williams is so old, I think Jonathan Abram is, or Jonathan Abram. Wow, he actually does not have that good of. I was looking at his
He's not that good, though.
They have Juan Thornhill from Virginia. That's another option.
I don't think you go safe. I think you take a tackle or a guard here, and you can get.
I mean, safety is their top need remaining. I mean, they could go Dalton Risner. I could see it.
Or just go playmakers, dog.
I think the receiver class is so deep that they'll get one in the second round. Yeah, I'll go Dalton Risner. Keep Aaron Rodgers upright. That's the only chance you have at the Super Bowl. All right, you and 31 with the Rams.
Okay, Rams, edge rusher and linebacker. I guess linebackers are kind of depleted. I don't like Rashawn Gary. Chase Winovich is not really first-round material.
You don't like Rashawn Gary, but at 31, you don't think the team would take a shot on him? I'm not saying would you. I'm saying you don't think a team would.
Well, this is my draft.
You didn't love Josh Allen. No, but we said we want to choose it somewhat realistically, and we didn't love Josh Allen, and we probably wouldn't have used a first-round pick, but the Bills still traded up to number 7 and drafted him. It does happen, and Rashawn Gary does have an insane athletic profile and did flash some talent. I don't think he's as consistent. I think he's a very low floor.
Yeah, linebackers for them are horrible.
Yeah, they could do some linebackers.
None of them are worth it, though.
Edge is their biggest need, and I'm just telling you, if Rashawn Gary lasts at 31, I find it hard to believe they pass on him, even if they don't love him. They could take a corner. DeAndre Baker still available.
Oh, I got this.
Well, you're
Jack
You're like a minute in.
Ja'Kai Polite.
Oh, you think they'll take him at 31?
Yep. He was going to be a top 15
I could really see that. I'm not doubting it based off talent. He had a really bad pre-draft process, which has him falling to the second and even third in some drafts, even further in some drafts. But yeah, I think that's a good pick. I could definitely see the Rams being a team that is confident that they're good enough that they're going to take a swing on him. That was a really good pick, Kyle. All right, now the Patriots sitting at 32. Now I just so want them to take Daniel Jones. That would just be the scenario.
There's one very obvious player that is such a Tom Brady guy who just does everything well.
Let's cut the suspense and are you talking
Deebo Samuel?
Yeah.
Best receiver in the SEC. Completely dominated.
Yeah,
great kick returner, great punt returner.
However.
Great route runner, good size. I mean, everything the Patriots look for.
I agree. Frick. What picks do they have in the second round?
I don't know.
Patriots pick. They have a top second round pick, right?
No idea.
They have the 56th pick and the 64th. 56 is kind of not that high. It's the Bears pick. I agree, but I also think that the edge rushers aren't as deep, and I think they'll take Rashawn Gary. I mean, you laugh, but at 32, Kyle, he's not as bad of a pick.
He's not worth it.
I don't think he is, but at 32, first of all, how deep the receivers are, I love Deebo Samuel as well, but look, I just think that Rashawn Gary at 32, and the way the edge rushers fall after him, I mean, once you've gotten through the Burnses and the Sweats and the Clelin Ferrells and all the top guys of the draft, of course, and once you get past Gary and Polite, Winovich is there, and not a whole lot else. I mean, there are guys that you can take swings on, but more Jordan Jenkins type of guys. So that's our mock draft. We'll put that on Twitter. I think we did a good job.
Yeah, I don't think we really have time to do a 7 round for the Jets, though, do we?
If we do it really fast. Let's just do these really fast, and we'll get out of here. We won't do the other stuff that we had planned. That took way longer because somebody kept going past the 30-second thing. For me, look, I think on draft night tomorrow, we'll do predictions and do a 7-round mock at the same time. I'll go first, then you. Look.
Shit, where'd it go?
Look, I think the Jets are going to trade down. I do think they'll trade down. I've made this clear. I think they'll add a second. I think they'll add a future first and maybe a third or a fourth. So I think they'll get a solid offer and take, whoever they have as their best player available. It kind of depends. I think it'll probably be with the Redskins if I had to make a pick, and then if I had to choose. And I think that's, Brian Burns' territory. I think they could potentially go Montez Sweat if they wanted. I personally think if Burns is off the board, you take a guy like Jonah Williams and immediately improve your offensive line. You can play him at center. You can play him at guard. So I think the Jets are going to trade down. But with this mock draft, I try to do what I would do if I couldn't trade at all, and it was kind of the best-case scenarios. Because there's some guys that in the simulator were picked like three spots before I picked, and I just kind of put them on. Actually, they could fall. So I cheated a little bit. For instance, Nick Bosa, first overall. In the mock draft that I did, they had him going second to the Niners, but I do think that the Niners will end up taking Quinnen Williams. I think if he's on the board, that the Jets aren't going to pass on him. He fills a need that they've had for literally like 2 decades. And according to all reports, he's their top prospect, top edge prospect on the board. They don't have a second-round pick, and if we can't trade and accumulate one to the third round where they have 2 picks, I think you look at corner and offensive line. I think offensive line's deeper this year than cornerback, so I'd go Trayvon Mullen, cornerback from Clemson. I think he's a good press man corner, and Greg Williams' defense. I'm not really comfortable with Darryl Roberts being a starting corner for all 16 games, so I think you have to go corner early. So I'd take him there. And with our third-round pick, I'm going Riley Ridley, receiver from Georgia. He's probably my favorite prospect or one of my favorite prospects in this draft class. I think he's perfect for what the Jets need and what Sam Darnold needs. I think he's a guy who starts the season as your 4th receiver and ends as either your 2nd or your best receiver. Brother Calvin Ridley, a terrific route runner, literally can do it all. So I have him going in the third to the Jets. Then fourth, the one thing that the Jets haven't addressed to this point is offensive line, specifically center. I know a lot of people are uncomfortable with Jonathan, or too many people are comfortable with Jonathan Harrison starting at center. I think there's kind of a myth that he played well towards the end of the season because Darnold played so well towards the end of the season. But if you watch it, I mean, he was consistently just getting pushed back into Darnold's face. He was getting bull rushed over. I'm not comfortable with him as a starting center. If Connor McGovern's still there from Penn State, I'm taking him and plugging him in as a plug-and-play day one starting center. Then you get to the later day 3 picks, and I think that Maccagnan likes to take swings on D2 athletes and whatnot. For me personally, though, I'm attacking guys that I think can still contribute with high ceilings. A guy like Tommy Sweeney is just going to come in day one as the best blocking tight end on the roster, and he fills a need there behind Chris Herndon. He's never going to be a top receiving tight end or anything, but I think Herndon is such a good receiving threat, and he's going to continue to develop. And I'm not as low as some are on Jordan Leggett. I still think he can be somewhat solid. I mean, Maccagnan did just burn a fifth-round pick on him a few years ago, and he was hurt his whole rookie year basically. So I still think that the Jets do like Leggett. So the guy like Sweeney comes in as your blocker. You don't have to deal with Eric Tomlinson or Neil Sterling or anything anymore, and your tight end room looks pretty good. And then the seventh, I was just taking a swing. Bryce Love was still available, running back from Stanford. A lot of injury concerns with him and durability concerns. I think he's obviously much better in a stable, and you pair him with Le'Veon Bell and Ty Montgomery or whatnot. I think he's just such a brilliant pick. And he also, he's said outright that he wants to play with Sam Darnold, so why not? So that's my mock. Kyle, your predictions for tomorrow and then your 7-round mock.
Okay, so I lost my 7-round mock somehow because the Draft Network has it just never saves the mock, so I'm going to do this off the top of my head. Number 3, if I'm the Jets, I'm going Quinnen Williams. I think that's pretty simple for me. We got 2 third-round picks. I really think this depends on how it shakes out. Are we doing this how the Jets would do it or how we would do it?
How you would.
Okay. So, third round, I don't want to take a running back, but if Miles Sanders is sitting there, I don't think you pass on a guy like that. He's so good. He's just so good.
You take a running back with their first third-round pick? Are you kidding me? After we just gave Le'Veon Bell $30 million a year?
No, I'm not going to. But if I was running the team, I would. I know that's kind of counterproductive what I just said. This is kind of tough. Third round. God, I really don't like anybody in the third round too much besides running backs and wide receivers who we don't need. Voshon Joseph is a guy that I would definitely take a flyer on. Might be a bit biased, but he was a baller at Florida. It's pretty simple. And then with the second, third round pick, I feel like you got to go some sort of offensive playmaker or at least offensive guy. Backup tight end is something I do think is a need. I think if Jordan Leggett was good, we'd hear a lot more about it. We see him a lot more. I understand he was hurt his rookie year, but we didn't see a lot from him last year. So just depending on who's on the board, I guess Chase Sternberg would be Sternberger, however you say his last name, would probably be that pick. We don't have a 4th or 5th, right?
We do have a 4th. We don't have a 5th.
Okay, we have a 4th. So right around there is when you're going with injured guys, and I would not be shocked if they just took a guy like Jalen Ferguson. I don't think he's good, but Jalen Ferguson is the guy. He's an edge rusher. Production was okay. He tested really poor at the combine, but beforehand he was getting tough.
He's from Texas. What is he from again? Where is he from? He's like or Louisiana.
Yeah, I think Louisiana Tech.
Yeah, that's Louisiana Tech for sure.
Yeah,
Louisiana Tech, that's what it is. Yeah, he fell a lot during the combine.
Yeah, I wonder what his stats were.
The beginning of the process, he was a first-round pick.
Yep.
Jeez.
Oh wow, he's very productive. Jesus, yeah, I'd definitely take him in the 4th round.
If you're Louisiana Tech, you'd hope he was productive.
The Conference USA. It's a pretty solid conference, but
definitely juggernaut conference right there.
26 tackles for a loss and 17.5 sacks.
Yeah, wow, it's pretty impressive.
Yeah.
But again, you don't want to just count stats. You want to
obviously,
where they
obviously,
stats
I agree.
using technique and.
Also, well, not speed. He's pretty slow. So, um,
or find cleanup sack.
yeah. So then 6th round, right?
Yep.
This is where it gets interesting. I like the idea of taking a running back here. Trevion Williams, running back from Texas A&M, led the SEC rushing this year. He one of the top running backs in the SEC in recent memory, and we're talking about guys who have won Heisman's. You didn't even hear about this dude. He ran for 2,000 yards, and he's a pretty good run blocker. I mean, he's good at playing football. Texas A&M just wasn't a good team this year. But when you run for 2,000 yards in the SEC, you earn respect at some point along the line. And I think he's worth a 6th-round pick. And then in the 7th round, this is I wouldn't be shocked if we took a kicker or something. Off the top of my head.
I think they have too many holes, and when you can't trade, I don't think they're taking a kicker in the 7th.
Yeah. What are the chances that Lonnie Johnson is still available in the 7th?
So unbelievably low. He's going in the 3rd or the 4th.
Oh, well, he's pretty bad.
Yeah, but
he's pretty bad.
He's not falling to the 7th.
Okay.
In the 7th, maybe a guy like Michael Jackson from Miami falls, but I don't think he falls. I think Michael goes in 5th or the 6th.
So I got the inside defensive lineman with Williams, and then who was my first pick in the 3rd round?
The running back.
Oh, no, it was Voshon Joseph.
No, you took a running back. Did you not write it down? Are you kidding me?
No, I didn't write it down.
Oh, yeah, you changed it. Remember? Yeah, you changed it.
Voshon Joseph, and then who was my 2nd, 3rd round pick?
I don't remember.
Tight end Jay Sternberg, and then 4th round Jalen Ferguson.
Yep, there you go.
And then 6th round I just did. Oh boy. Who did I just take in the 6th round? Oh, Trevion Williams.
Yep.
And then 2nd round. 7th round.
Offensive line.
Maybe you already say Michael Jackson? Guy from Ohio State?
He's from Miami, but...
No, there's an offensive lineman from Ohio State who also has a famous guy's name. It might be Magic Johnson.
It's Michael Jordan.
Michael Jordan. Michael Jordan, yeah. That's what it is.
Lasting to the 7th.
Every mock that I've done, he makes it to the 7th.
Well, if that's the case, then you can just take him. But
yeah, there we go.
All right.
Cool.
Well, there we go. Jeez.
Yeah.
Like 3 mock drafts right there.
All right.
Before we wrap up, any final predictions for tomorrow?
Oh.
Or I guess for this weekend as a whole.
Well, for this weekend as a whole, I would just like to say on a personal note. Shit. Ben, when was your 26th? 27th?
27th. I'm on the Saturday and you're on Tuesday.
Yeah, okay. So I'm turning 18 on Tuesday. And Endgame, I'm going to the premiere tomorrow night. So when the Jets trade back, I'm not going to see who it is and what we get. When we trade back, I'm pretty confident we will.
I don't know. Bosa staring him in the face. I could see Mac just taking him. Being too
maybe.
Like a 15.
It's a possibility. But my prediction is that I walk out of the movie theater in happy tears. I have 0 predictions about this NFL draft because you can't predict the NFL draft. And I know it's a cop-out, but it's true.
All right. I predict that they'll trade down. And I think as far as the weekend as a whole, I think that the Jets are going to enter this or leave the draft with a glaring need at probably corner. No, I think they'll address O-line. I think Max literally made 1 offensive lineman pick in his 4-year tenure, and it was Brandon Shell. And so I think they might not attack it until the 4th, but I think they'll attack it, in the first 2 days. And if they do, in the 4th, it's the beginning of day 3. I think they're not going to attack corner. I think that's the position they'll leave. I think, again, they'll trust that Jermaine Johnson has a bounce-back season. They'll trust that they really like, the flashes that we saw from Joe Roberts and Brian Poole in the slot. And then even a guy like Derek Jones, who flashed a lot at the end of the year in the Week 17 game and through training camp and whatnot. I think the Jets are not going to invest that much in corners. I could potentially see them trading Darren Lee for a guy like Trey Waynes or something and maybe adding one like that. But I don't think this is a very strong cornerback class, especially where the Jets are picking. if they had a pick at the top of the second, then maybe I could see them attacking it there. But I just don't really see a spot where they get a good one, unless a guy falls them at their first, third pick. So I think they will address their edge in their offensive line and get some weapons for Darnold, but I don't think they'll address corner. All right. Oh, I guess that'll do it. Yeah, that's everything we had done. Okay, so let me tweet this out. So this is our mock draft that we'll tweet out one more time. I won't read it off, but you can find it on our Twitter at the Jet Take if you're interested in reading it, or any of our other tweets. It's been popping the last few weeks despite our lack of episodes. And we'll be live tweeting the draft, or at least I will, while Kyle enjoys Endgame. You can follow us there. You can listen to our podcast on iTunes, Spotify, SoundCloud, Stitcher, wherever you listen to your podcast. And you can also find us on turningthejets.com, the best place for Jets coverage. Kyle, excuse me, do you have any last things you'd like to say before we end the pod?
Go Jets.
What a lame ending. Jesus, you're about to see Endgame and your birthday's in a few days, and you're just going to say, really? Nothing?
Nope.
All right. Well, I'll just say Damian Lillard is apparently one-dimensional. Right, Kyle?
I mean, yeah, he takes pretty bad shots in the playoffs, and he got lucky. So
I guess he does. Interesting. All right, that'll do it for us. Again, thank you so much for listening to another episode of the Jet Take. You can find us Wednesdays if we're on top of our shit. Wednesdays, 8 o'clock Eastern. We'll bring back the callers. I think next week we should have a special guest on the line to break down the NFL draft and everything that's going to happen this weekend. And we should have some callers. So you can call in next week, Wednesday night, 8 o'clock, 515-606-5187. Enter the PIN 261860 with the pound or hash sign. That'll do it for us. Thank you for listening to another episode of the Jet Take. We don't have the sound bites up, so I can't leave you with the best chant in the National Football League. But go Jets, and let's hope McAgnes is bomb this draft.